don't really know how this is going to go.
You can tell us what you've got planned.
Welcome everybody. This is episode 1 of the Veeam Product Strategy Live. So here we are, week 2. We've survived one more week of this interesting situation the world's in. We might have lost David though. Where's David? Is he?
I don't know. Last I heard, he was on some boat someplace. I don't know.
Yeah, staycation potentially around
Staycation, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, around his property. Have you heard of him, Michael?
Yeah, a few messages here and there, right? Let's just hope that the virus hasn't got him, right?
No, let's not joke about it though, just in case, we don't know. But yeah, look, I think this week we wanted to, follow up from last week and maybe expand a little bit on some conversation. We chatted a lot about Corona, what it's doing. I've actually talked quite a bit this week and the last week actually since this podcast about working from home. And look, to be honest with you, we're probably a little bit, saturated with tweets and blog posts, relating to it. But I think for us, Melissa, Michael, we've done it for a long time. I know Michael's worked from home for a while, even in previous roles. We were talking earlier in the day. He's actually done that, successfully on and off, sometimes not successfully, which we're being honest about, right? Melissa
played a lot of PS4, right?
A lot of PS4. Pro Evolution or FIFA? That's the thing.
I'm a FIFA
They
guy.
sound Pro Evolution, so there you go. I actually played.
That explains a lot, actually.
It does, doesn't it? Well, here's a funny thing, right? As well. So for Pro Evolution, when I used to play with my mates, especially back in the old days, FIFA's got the shoot button and the cross button. They're the other way around to Pro Evolution. So I would play Pro Evolution, but I'd swap the buttons around as it was a FIFA button. And my mates used to hate that. But I used to keep the same control. So there you go.
So you were the one that would take 5 minutes to set up the controller before you actually got into a quick game.
Yeah, and then I wouldn't get it. And then I wouldn't get it right. And that first time that I was in position to shoot, I'd actually pass it. And I'm like,
cross it.
Missed the goal. We all know.
Nice.
They were different times. Anyway, but Melissa, for you, just to explain, how long have you been working from home? I mean,
I actually have been working from home a long time. So my role at NetApp before I came here, when I worked in product operations, was completely remote because my team was in North Carolina. As a NetApp SE, I worked from home sometimes, right? Or customers or in the office, kind of bounced around. And actually, when I was even back in my customer life, my company was acquired by another company. They were trying to reduce office space, so they started encouraging people to work from home more. So I've pretty much been doing it a very long time, which is, I guess, good.
Yeah.
I mean,
so you're used to it, right? And
yeah, I'm used to it.
Yeah. You've had some interesting. Well, I wouldn't say. I'm actually talking about your kids in terms of challenges, right? You've had kids recently, and they are challenges, kids, obviously. So, how did you find that?
They're fine.
When they started, I mean, they're kind of young still, aren't they? They don't do much.
Yeah, they're young, so
kind of poke them and they fall over a couple of times.
The one tip I have from working from home for all the people that are new to working from home, this is a really good opportunity to stop eating junk all the time, right? Because if you're on the road as an SE or if you're traveling a lot, you will just eat whatever you can get your hands on because, I don't have time for lunch or blah, 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 blah. So this is a really good opportunity to clean up your diet, right? Stop eating junk.
Yeah, that's where I've been going wrong, I think.
Oh, no.
Well, interesting enough, so I can remember, I'm always a bit cautious about what I eat, right? Everyone that knows me knows that I've got some really weird habits in general, but eating's one of them.
Weirder than me?
Well, not weirder than you, but just strange because I basically, I won't die if I eat certain stuff. So I guess I'm okay from that point of view. But when I was younger, in my first few years working, I remember I'd always go down into the kitchen and take a biscuit or two every day, right? Never thought it was going to impact me, never thought whatever. But, the reality is having 1 or 2 or 3 biscuits a day actually, does add up. But funnily enough, working from home, you can almost fall into the same trap if you're not careful because I think you're more prone to getting up and wandering.
I think people eat when they're bored, right? Or whatever, or trying to break up their schedule or do something. They eat, right? I don't do that, but I guess that's a thing people do.
I guess it depends on your layout as well, right? I know Michael, because I've been to Michael's house, I've slept in the bedroom just behind Michael. That's
really?
not the master bedroom. It's that one there. But I know that's on the third floor though, right? So for you, you're kind of separated quite significantly from your eating area, which I think's, for those that can do it. I mean, not everyone can, right? So I guess a lot of people that are working from home and they're forced to work from home in this particular situation with Corona is that they have to have makeshift sort of setups, right? They're not lucky enough or they're not prepared to have.
I guess if you're working in
office.
your kitchen, you're probably in trouble, right?
Yeah, exactly. More likely to look
Kitchen
in the
table,
pantry.
you're in trouble. Like,
Exactly. And
look
go,
at all the little snacks waiting for you.
Well, my brother actually, so my brother works for a bank and he's working from home for the first time in his career. And he posted a picture this morning, was it yesterday? He set up his laptop and his monitor on the bench top, but basically the bench and the kitchen are connected to his bar area. So he's got all the booze. Yeah.
Great idea.
Great idea. Why not? Have a drink in this day and age. But I think, bringing it back though, like one of the biggest thing that I've talked about when I've had these chats with people this week, and actually I had a really good chat yesterday with one of our the Veeam channel APJ team. I had about 50 people on a Teams meeting. Funnily enough, didn't work as well as Zoom, and we thank Zoom for being able to provide free access for 40 minutes, full functional. Brilliant.
Are they paying you?
No, I mean they could. So I won't deal with a few shares maybe, but no. But look, the one thing I told these guys was because many of them hadn't worked from home before, and I've got it down to discipline. That's the biggest thing, and we all know that discipline when you're working from home is huge. Being able to set yourself up and break the habit. You've got to be disciplined while breaking the habit of feeling that you have to be head down, bum up. Okay, because we're conditioned as humans to go into an office, sit down, work hard, have a chat, work hard, have a chat, go home and repeat. And when we break that social interaction, we fall within ourselves, we can get obviously isolated. Discipline's very important. And the last thing that I talked about was being guilt-free. I think that's actually almost more important than anything. And I think.
So you're saying eat the biscuits anyway?
Eat the biscuits. Be guilt-free.
Full circle.
Not specifically on the food, but I see how we can parallel that. But no, I think being guilt-free in terms of if you feel like you've got to get up off your desk, go out and, if you can, go into your balcony, if that's what you've got for an apartment. If you can go out.
A balcony?
Well, lots of people in Europe do. I mean, apartments and balconies, I don't know.
True.
Yeah,
have you seen that, actually? Have you seen,
Yeah.
So the Italians are a couple of weeks ahead of, us in the UK, everyone in terms of how they're having to deal with this. And seeing that music being played around those
I've seen some really good songs being sung.
Yeah.
I think a bunch of people did some Rihanna or something like that a couple days ago. That was really good.
Yeah.
It's really quite.
It's uplifting, isn't it? It's uplifting.
Humanity, right? Yeah, it's good. It's good to see.
I mean,
but if you were in your office, you would get up and get a drink of water, get a cup of coffee, whatever. Still do all that stuff, right?
Yeah, and don't think that you're bound to a 9 to 5. I think that's the biggest thing, right? 9 to 5, it's important. But the one thing that employers will work out more and more as this thing goes on, and I think even moving forward, big shift will happen. And Michael, we talked about this earlier, but the whole concept of 9 to 5 and the concept of having to do 8 hours with a lunch break, you don't need to do that at home. Like, I'm not telling everyone that you don't have to work. What I'm saying is it's okay to get out, have a walk, go, if you've got a basketball ring, have a sort of basketball, go and have a coffee out the back, whatever it is, and do not feel guilty about it. If you've got your kids there, they're okay to run around. Obviously you've got to take that. You've got to have some control there. But again, key, discipline, don't feel guilty. That's my big things that I've been trying to sort of talk to people about. Michael, what do you reckon? What do you?
Yeah. So 100% that. Like, so what time is it there, Anthony? It's like must be 10 o'clock at night, right?
Quarter past 10.
So this is pretty normal for you. You are online most of the day, as we all are, because we don't just sit. Because that's what we do. I think from my point and the conversations that I've been having, it's been about routine. Because if you haven't been so we all have a bit of a routine in terms of I speak to you first thing in my morning, Anthony, and that's like 3 o'clock your afternoon. And then Melissa comes online around my lunchtime, and we're all speaking around that clock. But in terms of a routine, probably a lot of people are going to be commuting into or were commuting maybe an hour into the office.
Yeah, or more.
So potentially look at, right, how can I use that hour? Or maybe if it was 2 hours, how do I use an hour of that to learn something new? Last week I mentioned around
That's a good idea, yeah.
some of the things that I was learning, like I was educating myself on. This is a prime time to cut your day up into like 1 hour chunks and use that day, obviously, to get your job done. No one wants to get like found out of or fired because they're not actually doing their work, but use that time strategically to be able to teach yourself something new. And it doesn't need to be tech, right? Like, we're in tech and we're talking, and I imagine the majority of people on the call are going to be talking tech or in the tech world, but it could be anything, anything at all. Musical instruments, like languages, all of that sort of stuff is a good breakup, and it's just only going to keep your morale up as well.
I like to try to teach myself calligraphy. It's pretty pathetic, and I'm not good at it, but I enjoy it. It's very relaxing to take 10 minutes and do that.
Yeah,
I loved calligraphy. I actually love it. My dad was really good at it, and he got me calligraphy sets when I was younger. I still got the pens, but I haven't done it in so long. But I used to actually spend hours doing it when I was a young kid. So it's a good one to pick up again, the lost art. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. But I think as well, the one thing we haven't talked about is human contact as well, from the point of view of like what we're doing here. I mean, we kind of started this last week because we're just yearning for some sort of chat, for some sort of ability to interact with people, right? And it's very important to, even though we're not face to face, I'm still looking at Melissa, still looking at Michael, even the faces that we're seeing in the chat below. You know, we're seeing people. That's important to have some connection, even though it's virtual. Even though we're literally split across the world, I'm literally in between Melissa and Michael in the world, right? Like I go either way, take me the same amount of time to get to their house. But it's that connection that we still need. Very important. So even if you...
And our group is really good about that because we're geographically distributed as it is, right? So that's something that we've all done really well, I think, for...
But the reality is that we didn't use video as much, did we?
No.
And I think it's really interesting because I know that when I'm away traveling, and Michael, I don't know if you do this, but when I'm away traveling, I will use FaceTime when I'm overseas, when I'm a long distance away from my family. But when I'm here, I don't do it. If I'm calling up the kids or Lisa, my wife, when I'm in Perth, I don't use FaceTime. But when I'm away, I do. It's a really interesting sort of situation. I can't quite work out the psyche behind it. Is it because we're closer?
If you were in, would you use FaceTime if you were like at the other side of the country in Sydney or Melbourne?
No. So that's the interesting part.
That's weird.
Yeah, you have to leave the continent and then you use FaceTime.
Yeah, but it's. I don't know why I do it. I just feel like if I'm overseas, I want that connection. But yeah, maybe that is a human psyche thing, you know. Whereas if I know that I'm within my country, even though I've got a big country and it's still a long way to go, I don't do it as much. So yeah, that's an interesting one. But certainly we are using face and visuals a lot more.
I think that's another thing, right? So obviously our team, we're grounded at the moment. Our interaction comes when we go to the events, we go to the user groups, we go to those like customer meetings and stuff like that. And now everything's being pulled back and we're grounded at home. So we don't have that interaction. But I've also found there's a lot of, so we work quite closely with the product marketing team as well at Veeam. And I've found that every week we're putting in like a 1 hour, just a chinwag, like just to have a chat for an hour with some of the guys, just to bounce around ideas, because this is the time for us to really hammer down on certain areas of content around different creations, like this, for example, is a good way of expressing ourselves and getting some good detail out there.
Yeah. And you know, on that, I think we talked about I guess the change that's happening with this as well. Like, what's it going to be like now moving forward? So pivoting a little bit to the conversation around, you know, it's just going to fundamentally shift the way that companies view remote work. I know that and hello to Daniel Santini, who loved me calling him out, who I used to work with at Zetagrid. he always used to give me a hard time about working from home, even when I was working at Zetagrid or whatever, because sometimes to be focused, what I'd do is I knew that I'd get more distracted at the office. So there were periods of time where I said to my boss, I'll go work from home for a week to get something done, or a couple of days out of the week. The perception, though, was that I wasn't working, that I was there having a good time, doing nothing, right? That's a huge perception thing on working from home if it's not the norm. So for us as this team, the product strategy team in Veeam, and a lot of remote workers in tech, it's the norm. But if you're used to an office, there's this air of almost untrust about people working from home. And I think bosses as well probably think that they're not as productive at the same time. So that to me might shift. I mean, Melissa, what do you reckon? What's your thoughts about how this will look like in 12 months?
I don't know. Maybe I know. So what's the most expensive thing that most companies own? Real estate, right? Very expensive. So we have seen a trend of companies, especially tech companies, adopting the work from home model to get rid of all those field sales offices, right? Because those are very expensive to maintain. I'm thinking maybe we see a little bit more of that. Should this prove to be good? You know, for some companies, it might be a great thing. For other companies who just don't have the collaboration tools in place because they're putting the emphasis on you need to be in the office every day, this is going to be a hard journey for them. So I think it's going to be, time will tell.
Yeah. And what about general workday? Like, do you think that bosses will start to go, you know, we're not going to, and I think this trend has been happening recently.
I had a boss, not even my boss, it was like a boss's boss's boss. And they would like, this is like back in the Microsoft communicator days. And they would like look at you, be like, so-and-so noticed that you weren't online at 3:00 or stuff like that. So that kind of stuff, I mean, I don't know. It's a management thing too, right? There has to be a fundamental shift, and there has to be a fundamental trust in the employee, right? If you think all your employees are messing around all the day, I mean, I'll be honest. I have days where I get so much more done at home because I lock myself in here all day, and I crank on something, right? When I was doing all the NetApp Ansible automation, like I just sat in front of my desk and like did not move unless I absolutely had to. I like ran and got food from the kitchen and like scarfed it down while I was, you know, still coding or whatever. So there are days where I like have super productive, probably like unhealthy work from home days, right? Where you just sit down and you crank, and that's an opportunity, right? Because you're not getting distracted by commuting and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
and on that as well, it can work the other way, where sometimes I've found I'm doing days where I'm sitting in front of the computer for 12 hours sort of thing,
right?
Because it's so easy to do, because
it's easy to fall into the other extreme too, but it's also an opportunity to once in a while have that productive, non-interrupted time to do something like, you know, when I was writing all those scripts and stuff, because I'm not a scripter, not a DevOps person.
You haven't got your beard?
Challenge for me.
Yeah, you haven't got a beard yet.
Haven't got your beard?
There will be no beard. Sorry.
Oh, give it a go.
No.
So yeah, what about you, Michael? What's your thoughts on the changing? I mean, so think about the way that the world's actually changed already in a month. We saw some amazing pictures of Venice today, and Michael and I were talking about this earlier, where the waterways have become clear, like literally crystal clear within a month of this happening. It's even less. What is it? 3 weeks. Like the world is reacting so dynamically and quickly to humans not being, you know, active. It's on one side it's scary, on the other side it's kind of refreshing. What do you reckon, Michael? Like what's your thoughts?
Yeah. So the thing, 100% is that if you look at the pollution map over most of the countries, we saw them over China at the beginning of this, and the fact that the pollution is now cleared away, and like you say, there's some awesome looking coloured water around Venice that didn't look like that a month ago, for example. I think just to go back to, like, so we talk about our day to day as well, and how we potentially work better at night when no one else is contacting you, or you work better first thing in the morning and all of that. And that's from a technical, like, content creator type position that we're in. But what I was thinking about this morning was, if you think about, like, so take London, for example, huge mile square where there is buildings wedged into each other with acres of office space for recruiters, think of like banking. there's all sorts of people that just work on a screen in an office environment. If you were to take them out and put them in their home office or in a home office, think of the amount of real estate that you then free up to then be able to do.
Exactly.
Like, think about Canary Wharf. Like, that's a huge set of buildings around like One Canada Square that is full of bankers. I said bankers. Yeah, it's think about what we could do with that space, these giant buildings, and repurpose that land, that space to do more.
So to counteract that, at the same time, we can't over rotate too much on that, because, like we said, humans need interaction, and we need to be with people, right? Like that's.
You keep saying.
We do. Well, we do. Like, this is it. I mean, this is the thing. I see other people shaking their head at guys that are non-participating in here, but I think we certainly can do it, but it has to be balanced.
Maybe it becomes those people they were making go into the office 5 days a week. Now they're going to go in.
Make it go 4. Make it go 4 or 3. Yeah, whatever. Rotate through.
Yeah,
or make it free for people to go. Okay, you know what? Here's what we're saying. We're going to open up some flexibility in this. You know, we're going to put it on you. Let's trust the people to do the right thing, and at their point, you know, as long as they get the job done, as long as there's an outcome to their work, that is what dictates it at the end, right? And you'll be very quickly found out if you cannot handle it, because some people probably can't. There's certain people that need to be micromanaged and, you know, have people looking over their shoulder the whole time. That's just the way of life. And some jobs can't be, you know, remote, because they do require you to be with people front and center, that sort of thing. So yeah, I think it's quite interesting. But one thing I think could happen, so maybe the world, you know, in 12 months or whatever, goes, you know, look at this, look at the impact, look at the pullback that we've had in pollution. So let's now decree as a world that maybe we will have a week off as a world. And we've proven that we can kind of do it albeit under duress. But let's say now let's do this as a world initiative to try and at least once a week in a 12-month period or whatever it is, let's give the world a break from pollution. I mean,
yeah, I like what you said earlier about that World Week or something like that.
I don't like the word decree that you use, because there are a lot of decrees happening right now. Like, my state has a curfew right now, so there's a lot of stuff going on with decrees and curfews. And
I mean, I don't want to be all Greta about it, because I think that's the extreme. You know, where is Greta, by the way? She's been very quiet since this thing has gone up.
Yeah, she got nothing to do with it.
Yeah, what the heck? Anyway, I don't want to be shot tomorrow on the back of that particular innuendo. But anyway, that could happen. If I'm not here, that's what's happened. Greta's got to me. No, but I think it's very important to think about that. So yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, I think fundamentally the world's changed, but people are realizing that working from home is not the unproductive situation that it was. So with that, we wanted to kind of finish off and talk about another sort of thing that's happened because of all this remote work. What did you say, Michael? Did you say something about this is the year of...
No.
Yeah, the VDI.
Don't tell me. And maybe there's another conspiracy theory. Like, people have been saying that for the last 10 to 12 years, and now maybe it's actually happened. This is the year of the VDI. Oh my God, as someone who ran a platform on VDI for a while, I tell you, I hope not.
I put in VDI for the first time in 2008.
Funnily enough, so here's a story about VDI. Back in my very first job that I had, in 2000, well, my first real job when I was working for a service provider, we were an ASP, so application service provider before, you know, it's not a thing anymore, but that's what it was, my SaaS company. We were hosting remote desktop for Windows for customers.
Is that like when you took a laptop and you P2V'd it and you called it VDI?
No, nothing like that. No, it was nothing like that. We were basically doing remote desktops, and we would effectively have remote machines in our data center. People would connect to it now, and using terminal services and all that kind of stuff. So it was actually physical. The problem was it was on ADSL, not even ADSL 2 plus.
Ooh.
So these are all ADSL or 56K modems. So it was ahead of its time. We had people, funny enough, buying it, and we were generating revenue off it, but I don't know how the hell we managed to get away with that because it was criminal. It just wasn't working. But anyway, so that was back in 2002, VDI in a sense. No, but where I was going with that was, we're seeing a lot of companies come out and say, let's use we're going to give this product for a certain use case. So Zoom, I'm going to start with Zoom because we love Zoom.
Of course we are.
Zoom started with the freemium model. I talked about that last week. But what they did in between the episode 0 and episode 1 of this podcast last week was that they effectively said that they will give Zoom away fully featured to K to 12, basically. So give it away to every school. So all the schools that now are forced into remote, and I know, in Australia, we haven't gone school lockdown just yet, or, we haven't closed the schools down. I'm sure it'll happen over the next week or so.
Most of the schools are closed in the US.
Yeah, I think Michael's is happening end of the week.
Yeah, literally the end of this week. But so that leads quite nicely. So Zoom, yeah, they're doing a great thing there. But also the teachers, I've just literally had an email from my son's school with a software bundle. This is how you're going to teach that. This is how you're going to keep the continuation of learning. So they're using software to be able to teach that. Kind of begs the question is, obviously, do you need this classroom situation as well 100% of the time? Just thinking out of the box here, and also, so another thing is, so they're in there from 9 until 3 o'clock, right? That's
where we start the institutionalization of workday. It's at school. We start it from there.
Yeah, 100%. But off the back of that is that we were told by the teachers at my son's school is that, if you spend 2 hours a day teaching English and maths, an hour each, that should be enough. Well, that gives you a good perception of, well, how much time are they spreading across the 20 kids, 30 kids in that classroom? And actually, if you only need 2 hours a day, like, we could get them working, get them cutting the grass, get them doing other things out there.
Put them in the coal mines, send them up north.
Let's get them working.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, look, everyone's got different challenges. But look, I mean, for us, in Australia, we're a massive country, but we're, obviously a smaller population, but we're very remote. So in my state, for example, we've got 10-minute warning. I love Zoom for that. There you go, 10 minutes. And
should we switch gears and actually talk about technology for 10 minutes?
We will in a second. We definitely will, because it's leading. This is all leading to the last bit, which we're building the story. It's a good thing. Dave would be very proud about building a story. But yeah, the thing about that was, we are working with remote workers who are 8-10 hours away from the city of Perth, for example. So remote schooling has been in play in Australia for years and years and years. Single remote guy, video conferencing, that's the way that a lot of these people who live in remote towns that are mining towns or otherwise, that's how they do it. So we've kind of been doing it for a while. It's proven that it does work, and the next couple of months are going to see how it actually really works out in the real world. So yeah, that leads us to the final bit, which is talking a little bit about Veeam. But Michael, with the freemium stuff, what have we, not only what we've been doing right now since this has happened, but what have we always done as a company in terms of freemium stuff?
Yeah. So pretty much every product that we have is there's a free tier of that, right? And they're pretty functional in that regard. I think to circle that back round with what's going on today, I put a LinkedIn article up. I know Rick's done a Veeam.com blog as well on it. But I think as you're moving your workspace from potentially an office, a desktop machine, and you're now coming out into your home environment, might not have an office, but you might have got a family PC that you're going to use, or a laptop that you got from home. That your company have not maybe had the provisions to be able to provide you with a dedicated laptop from work that's already set up and secure. Then I think the Veeam agent for Windows, super easy to get installed. And this is what I was really talking about in that post is, it's all well and good getting up and running, which is a bit of a headache anyway if you're not familiar and you seem like you're rushing that situation. But I think what we've got to be mindful of is, well, how do we protect that data when it's now in an alien or a foreign type way? It's on your family PC. You're probably going to have kids. If you're in the UK, by the end of the week, they're going to be playing around on that. You don't want that important document or anything to go wrong with that system, because ultimately you need it to earn your money as well. So the agent is one of the free ideas around how do we look after that data that we're storing on these devices.
Yeah, and it's not even, the agent's really good because obviously from a one-to-one basis, you can download it free, install it, and it's going to just kind of work off the bat. And you can store it locally, but the key there, I think, is for IT departments as well. We've worked in a lot of great management functionality into that. If they want to take it a step further and they're looking for a really simplified solution to, backing up a now dispersed workforce, we've got ways that you can actually do that and control policy, control management. So it's not just rogue IT or shadow IT in a sense of people are backing up willy-nilly. Initially, to do it, you can do it great, but I think it's also got the possibility to add policy around that. That's a really good one there. But in terms of other free bits of software, what have we got, Melissa? Have you got a favorite?
We got a free trial at everything up in this place.
What's your favorite?
I like all of our products equally. They're all amazing.
That was so.
No, I can't really pick a favorite. It's like, do you have a favorite child? Oh, of course I don't have a favorite child.
No, I won't answer that. But I think we've also got Community Edition, right? So Community Edition.
We do have Community Edition, right?
And what's the greatest thing about what we do is that it's software-defined, hardware agnostic, right? So, you don't
care what hardware you have laying around.
No, that's exactly right. Makes it very, very portable.
Use whatever storage is on sale this week. We do not care.
That's exactly right. But the Community Edition, Michael, you've talked about the Community Edition a fair bit. Just talk to us a little bit about what that is and what it actually can do.
Yeah, so I guess the most common person that's going to probably watch this is going to be in our IT community, right? You've probably got an element of some sort of home lab, and I'll get into some other free stuff afterwards as well. But so Veeam Backup Replication will give you the Community Edition will give you the ability to look after 10 servers, or I think it's actually gone up to 30 workstations now with one Community Edition.
Yeah.
So that you'll have to look up what the difference is between, but pretty much 30 instances, and that could be virtual machines, that could be physical boxes. If you're in IT and you're looking after your friends and family while they're working at home, that's a pretty good way of protecting.
That's a really good point.
Or
just doing family tech support, right? Like I know I do tech support for my whole family, right? Just put that out
tech
there.
Support, and then changing light bulbs, sockets, all the DIY that involves electricity. That's all on our LinkedIn, isn't it? You've got all these skills. But yeah, so home lab, for example.
I literally back up my home lab with all the management stuff with Community Edition, and I don't have to because I could probably get a license pretty easy, right? But I've got it up there and I'm protecting it because I think it's a really cool way to do it. So I guess we've kind of diverged from a freemium edition. You can protect your physical laptops if you're out there, your workstations, get it up there, and you can actually then protect it from the point of view of talking to your IT staff to say, hey, we've got this great idea about a way we can protect all our customers and our critical data that's now being created.
Yeah. And we could do Veeam can just do a lot of really cool stuff. I have discovered just really, really cool stuff and solve a lot of problems. I was at VMUG actually, and a not Veeam customer came up to me afterwards, like, I have this problem. You're like a VMware person. Can I just talk to you about these VMs and stuff? And we chatted for, I'm like, look, go download Community Edition. It will do exactly what you need to do, and it will be free. You don't have to pay us. You don't have to do anything. This product is there for you to solve problems. So that went a long way with that particular customer. And I think we see a lot of customers starting with that, right? Starting with Community Edition and then they like it, right? And then it kind of grows. And maybe they buy the full version because, they have too many VMs or workstations or whatever to use Community Edition.
Yeah. In fact, maybe our sales guys kind of go, are we really giving that away? It's quite powerful, right? How do we make money? But the reality is that, we know that it's set, it's there for the fan base, for the community, for the VMware community, Microsoft community, Nutanix community. Again, the agnosticity of us is significant. But we just want to give it away.
Yeah, there's also, so anyone that's rolling their home lab, and there's a few out there in the community rolling their home lab like in AWS, then we've also got a free community edition around that as well, where it will allow you to protect 10 instances there as well.
Yeah,
and I think
EC2, right? So that's 10
Yeah.
instances of EC2, which is actually huge. Like I think I want to see the uptake of this like significantly. So everyone watching this, if you're running EC2 instances, have a look at the AWS marketplace, search for Veeam, and have a look at
it takes like 30 seconds to deploy it too. It's ridiculous how easy
30. It's all done by cloud formations, bang, bang, bang.
Really easy
and then
use.
effectively you've got a beautiful interface that's going to give you the ability to back up 10 free instances. And when we're talking about AWS, that is 10 of any instance. And again, cross-region, cross-account, cross-VPC, it's powerful. So for those that are running and maybe haven't looked at it, go out now and have a look at it and just download it, because I think it will show you the power of what we're able to do. But also from a simplistic, reliable point of view, we've created a really nice interface for it. And out of the box, it's very reliable. And we're going to actually iterate pretty quickly on it as well. So there'll be some new additions coming to it, which will always be part of that free model as well, up to 10 instances.
And the same great features coming for Azure soon too as well.
That's cool. So look at that as an option. Guys, we're down to less than a minute. Like Zoom, we don't know when it's going to cut, okay? It could happen any second now. We're in the last final minute.
To set a timer.
We've got to set a timer.
The countdown, set up minute
I reckon I've got about 15 seconds left. So thank you everyone for coming. Thanks everyone for listening. We're going to do this again, probably not next week. We're going to start to split it up over about 2 weeks. We don't want to make it too dry. Thank you everyone for listening to episode 1 of the Veeam Product Strategy Live, and we will be back next time. Thanks, Michael. Thanks, Melissa. All right.
Laters.
How good was that in time?
Any second now.
Any second.